Well, hello everyone and welcome back. I decided to start working on a E-wing. This is an E-wing that I printed. This is just going to be a boring, static model, no lights. I'm going to have the landing gear in it, which goes in there. This one I got from Bigbang Collectables. I'm going to do a good build series on one of these, but I'm going to do it in resin. And I'm going to try doing some stuff clear. Like this whole part would probably have to be done clear. And then in the slicer, I can also see if I can bore some holes where I can get lights in there and, light the clear part, hopefully. And it's going to be an experiment. But this one we'll do as a trial, just to look at, get familiar with it, and make it static, just sitting on its landing gear. And probably do my own thing on this one. And then on the resin one, the real nice one, um, we'll do that blue one that's like in Ahsoka. I think it would be cool. That's the first live action one you see. So what it is now, I cleaned most of the parts. These wings I still have to clean up. And the engines have a little bit of cleanup, not much. And the canopy, I decide if I want to make clear windows, because they do have a rim for the clear part to sit in there. Same thing on the sides. It's got a little pocket. And that goes there. But I can at least get the fuselage all together. It's all cleaned up. I just cleaned this piece, which was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. The hardest part was getting the supports that were in there because it printed like this. And I believe the detail, because they're supposed to be like little grills going across here, but they were so small. And then this was with my Elegoo, so I don't know if it would be better with the bamboo. And I believe this is the scale it comes when you download it. I don't think I made this bigger or smaller. But what I got to do is pop out these little, on both sides, yay. And I have pegs that I printed that go in there. Even if I get two, one on each side, to give me alignment. The epoxy will close it, and then we're going to have some puttying. So I'm having to drill out these holes. The holes that printed upright, they fit fine. Here's the pegs. They fit in there really nice. But here's ones I haven't drilled out yet. And they're just a hair too tight. So I found a good drill bit, and those I actually like how they fit better than the ones that printed. But almost so well you can't pull them out. But so that's what I'm doing. The side should be fine. And it's just a hair. And it should only be those. Yeah, and that's the end. We get this? Nope. Gotta do that one too. Really? Alright. Now we can start epoxying them together. It's coming along good. I just went and last night and went and puttied those seams. This seam here is so well, because it's the one that keyed in where it didn't print. Where this edge, this one printed like that, this one printed like that. So you get a little wubbiness of things curl and stuff on the build plates. Say like this is how this printed. These edges sometimes can, because it's more it lifting. But it didn't do too bad. But this went together so well. That seam, I'm not even. It's tight. You can't even see it there. It's there. And it's nice and clean. So I might, I'll just roughly sand it where I see it's a little twisted. But so the real one was here, but this wasn't horrible. The bad one was back here because this printed like that with this on top, and this printed like that with this part on top. So you had the same thing as here. You had two parts that are base. Now they're going together, so you sometimes get a little bit of warping on these corners. But it wasn't horrible. Filled it in with some perfect plastic putty. The only bad thing about this one is it goes through this detail, but I did my best to kind of go in there, and we'll use a cotton swab. Since that's one thing I love about the perfect plastic putty is that it is water soluble. But that's it really. And of course, where this is I have on its landing gear. Here he has a post for a stand, a base that you can print. Now the one I'm going to do in resin, which we're going to do one of these in resin. Probably keep it the same scale. This is a nice scale. And I thought there was clear parts, but no. So I'm going to have to make my own canopy. Because this I do want. Most Star Wars stuff I don't put screens in because they never did. For the fact of camera lights. Then you'd be able to see the camera light reflect off the window when they're filming it. So that's why they never did that. But this one being a static one, it wouldn't be too bad. So I'll have to just get some clear plastic sheets and cut. And you have a little lip to put them in there. That's why I wasn't sure. I was surprised. I mean, I could probably measure these and make them in FreeCAD. They're fairly simple shapes. But anyway, let's get off to something else. So yeah, I'm going to get ready to sand these down. Probably. Doesn't take much with the plastic, perfect plastic. Yeah. And then we're going to hit it with a white. Like I said, this one I'm not going crazy. This is a nice little static. I was going to make this the nice one, but I think it'll be the detail I'll get out of this. Like it should have like tubes going this way, and it didn't print them right with the filament printer. Now this was with my. I think this was printed on the Elegoo. I bet you if I printed on the bamboo, it would probably be better. We'll sand all this up. Try not to destroy any of our detail. It's going to probably be a file situation there. And I'm noticing a whole lot more defects in the what you call that. Yep, that works good. A serious ugliness. It'll take a little bit more patching than I was anticipating. The thing is, now I went through and sanded the plastic a little bit before I added the added the putty. Let's try to do our edge because I try not to hit the rest of the detail. There we go. But anyway, I'm not going to bore you all that. And like I said, this is not going to be a huge build series on that. We'll do that when we do the resin kit and we're actually going to do lights. Like I said, we'll probably cut these engines in parts. Somehow I'll sneak wire up through these wings. It's kind of the old Enterprise D situation. But I think like with Chitu Box, you can actually bore holes. So if I can get a hole pre-hole out to here. Even if it pops out here, I can just putty where it comes out, and then I can just tap in that way from the engine. Cut the engine and do the engine in two halves. And then on the front, I don't have to worry about anything because I don't really want light to come up front. It's going to have the little fan area, like turbine fans there. And back here, I can bore that out. And, so it doesn't print it. We can put LEDs back there. Oh, that's Lou. I was like, where's that music come from? He's working on, I'm watching one of those old videos of his of the Planet Killer. The thing that looks like a flying space joint. From Star Trek, the original series. Is it the Doomsday Machine? On the original, it really, they CG'd it out now. But on the original, it really looks like a flying joint. Oh, that's me. My friends used to laugh at that one. It really does look like a flying doobie. But yeah, I don't want to, this build series kind of be like, oh, I did this, and then it's going to be kind of those I show you what I did instead of showing you how I did it, because we'll save an actual build series for the resin one, because I think that's going to be nice and cool. But I think this one's going to come out good too. So this one in my big Y-wing, I'm going to do in my colors, which my favorite color is purple, so I'm going to do purple stripes on it. And I'll do the same thing with the Y-wing. But then I'm going to do both this and the Y-wing in resin, and then we'll do yellow leader, and this will have blue stripes on it. But to show you how well, like, some of these filament kits, here's a cheap, free model of the Marauder from Bad Batch. I just wanted to have the ship. I know there's the model kit, and maybe later down the line I'll get the model kit. But this is, it was free and it looked pretty. The files look pretty good. I could probably even print this a little higher detail, because I think I just had it set at 0.2, which is just a standard layer height. But all in all, it don't look that bad. And I just hit it with my TIE Fighter blue, which is, what is that? For an out of a can TIE Fighter color, I think it's called blue slate. It's the color, but where's the hole? There it is. Yeah, and this is the base that you can print with it. If you want something really quick and close to what the TIE Fighters were, this Rust-Oleum, the whole time hex, which has primer, paint, whatever, which actually might help because it really fills in any of the little imperfections. But yeah, it's slate blue. That's what I did my studio scale TIE Fighter in. That's what I did all my Bondi TIE Fighters in, and it works perfect. It says, well, satin will have a shine to it. It has a slight sheen, but we're going to do, I still got to do all the black in here and on these. And then I'm just going to do black windows. There's a little black detail, I think, in those triangle areas. And other than that, that's all it is. I mean, you do have these like openings here, but you can actually lift, raise, and lower. This one might be stuck from the paint. Yeah, so you can actually raise and lower the wings. It has landing gear. The bottom's probably the only part that didn't print the best because it had to print like this, and so you have all that. But I'm not going to look at the bottom. And like I said, this is just more of a static, cool display, because I do think the ship is cool. So maybe I can find a better 3D file and bigger, or I might just go get is it Round 2 or Revell that did this? I'm not sure. I want to say Round 2 because they have the bigger Star Wars license. But yeah, you have landing gear, so you can land it just like the Tidarian shuttle. Oops, I popped them out of their thing. These just clip in, and it pretty well. So you want to use a good PLA or a good filament, I should say. Probably a PET G. This is PLA plus, so it's hanging in there. But yeah, you got a little bit. But like I said, it's going to sit on the base. I'm not lighting it, but I probably could make little clear parts back there for the engines. But the detail's still in there, pretty good. Good enough. Good enough just to have a little quick little display of this ship. I think it's a brilliant little ship. It's kind of a Tidarian shuttle, but more set up for fighting, I guess. I don't know. I haven't watched The Bad Batch. I heard it's pretty good, so I will. So maybe later on I will get the actual styrene kit. I think the styrene kit's a little bigger. But anyway, I am rambling. I'm going to get back to sanding and get this painted white. And the only thing I have to do is I'll take this off and I'm going to tape off the cockpit and leave it black. Because I'm not going to go crazy here. I'm going to leave it the black plastic. We'll go through with either, to finish it up, we'll either go with the Tamiya pastel silvers in there and hit the edges to give them that silvery, worn look. And then we'll just paint the display screens. Maybe I'll make some decals for the monitors there. And then dome them over with a little Solaris. But yeah, it's just going to be a static. I have a pilot. We got a little R2 unit. He'll go in there. I paint him up. And I do have a pilot that's in the seat. I got to clean him up yet. But there we are. All right. Starting the mask. I think I probably skipped over doing the white. And I also, let me just move her. I also did some detailing, like the little mark things on the engines, a little bit in there. These things, they kind of look like fueling connections. Excuse me. Hit a couple of little pipes in there to give them some detail. And some things on top. Nothing major. Just started doing the engines towards the back. I still got more things to do on the back. Got a lot to do in the cockpit yet. Did a couple pieces back here, a couple piping and stuff like that, which is going to be hard to see on the camera. Let me see if I can. There we go. You can see some stuff. These up there that I did in a copper. Those I did in a brass kind of. We did that in a brass. Kind of give it. And those two are in copper. That's about it. And some of these ends on both sides. And I did the pipes here. But we got a lot. Most of the cockpit I'm really just going to just hit with like a gray pastel or rub and buff to knock some, wear marks on it. I want to see if I can print some small decals for the displays in there. Instead of just painting them in, I can get some type of, and then I can just paint the buttons in. But if I can get some type of things on there, even though they're not going to be lit, it'll look cool. I finally cleaned all the supports off of the pilot, so we'll paint him up good and he'll go in there. He almost looks a little small. He really does. Let me zoom back out. Yeah, he looks almost a little small. Like there's a lot of room in there. I almost wonder if I should print this and scale him up. He looks small. It doesn't look right. A lot, X-Wings are very tight. And there's a lot of, and this is basically similar to an X-Wing cockpit. But he looks small. This is the plane this is the fighter I'd want because you've got plenty of room. You can sit a briefcase and everything down in there. But I figured I need to get these stripes on and then do some detailing. And this here, trying to find a Canon E-Wing is not too fun because the only real canon one as far as live action is on Ahsoka, and they didn't really, you don't get a whole lot of, it's flying, so you get that where they're coming around when they're going to block her, so that's a good shot. But between these models people are putting out and between what's on there, there's so much variance, so I kind of had to go by what they had and then make it work to your ship. Because, like, they showed the blue not going down to these squares, but on this design, the squares are quite up. So you kind of have to. So it's just kind of what you got to do. There's variety of different wing detail, like what's going to happen here on the wing. There's a lot of different ones on that. Between the Hasbro, which is close to the one from Ahsoka, because they probably get some files from ILM. Yeah, like you have the Hasbro one looks pretty good. But you can see it's completely different. You got different detail here on the Hasbro. So I just comb between the both because Hasbro got some of those files. But there's different detail on the wings, so I can't really go by what their markers are on how high the blue is. So you kind of got to just go and make it well with your ship. Like I don't have that little thing right there where it's two squares with an attachment across the top. There's no detail on this that gives you that, unless they just made it up, But I think there's a raised detail there. Compared to what they had, my fingers just must have an issue. When I hit stuff, it just doesn't do it. Yeah, there's your good flyby from Ahsoka. I've been really just going off of this and just trying to make it work with this ship. But here's Bigbang Collectables, and this is how they did theirs. They did a kind of thin stripe, a little wider here, and then it jets up like that, real thin. But I'm going to do mine more like what's on the live action. Now, also, he didn't do anything on the nose here. Hasbro's. You can't see in this any of the video, but Hasbro has that little blue section there. I'm not going to do mine because my detail does not go. It wouldn't work. You would be doing blue either around panels and over panels, and yeah, I just didn't think it would look right. This middle one here, it's still over bright. Yeah, I don't know if I can get the light in it there. Well, it's kind of better. This one here is a little narrower. So do I go all the way down here and just up to here with that blue stripe and do the same on this side? But then also you notice it's back further than the stripe on the front, on the sides. So then do I go off of this one, and then how do I do that? Do I go off this and just bury that in the blue, or do I make this and kind of hit? Yeah, I just didn't like any options. Plus, their canopy on the Hasbro toy is really thick down here, so they added some blue there. I don't have all that space. I don't have all that space that they had. Add blue on that, and I don't know if I got it in camera here. I'll show you again. There's some blue on the canopy end, so I just decided just to not do it at all. And I see that their R2 unit, their astromech, has a big bubble lens on it, so maybe, because I noticed this one does. I was thinking about going through my files. I have a whole bunch of astromechs and making one of my own. Let me get the pile out of here because he's just going to rattle around. I think we got this side ready, especially since we're not going to do anything on the nose. Fun part was around this. This line wasn't that bad, but I was trying to figure out how it went because it kind of starts skinny, gets wide, and then they show theirs kind of shifting up. But I kind of tried to keep a a wing line type of thing. So, and then we got to, and then I think we're going to do this panel here, which I see on all of them, a little light gray. And then we'll do also, I think, just below this one. Yeah, just below this blue here, we'll do in a light gray. Or even showing a little piece this way, but we might put our logo there, so I wouldn't put it there. Yeah, I see a little bit of a shading difference right there in that panel, and I think we'll do that. Plus, there's one right under these, a gray one, which we'll definitely do. And I think that's it. And then this one here. But I'm going to keep doing it. I think it's time for me to do the other side, and then I can get some paint going. And that'll be it for these blue, and then I can get those grays on. Well, we are all taped up. Everywhere you see white is going to be a different color. Now, I'm not too worried about this on this because I actually printed the detail when these things printed didn't come out right. Probably because it was building like this. Oh, wow, that worked really good, actually. So what I did is I took this whole, you got to upload this whole piece in the slicer, and then I sliced it. I think right here is the end, so I sliced this off, and then sliced that off, and then did another slice like this, almost like slicing cheese, just to get that grill back. And then what I'll do is I'll try to cut all that out without losing. I was hoping I kept a little more of a back here. How'd the other one? I mean, there is some stuff going this way that it started to build as some type of support. So hopefully I can just go in here and cut that out and everything stays. Like, it does have all the way down every grill, so we should be good. Just trying to cut that out, all these little wires out, and then I'm going to put them back in. Because, yeah, it tried to grow this way, and it didn't do so well. And I thought it was supports, too, because I'm not too familiar with the ship, so I probably dug them all out. So I might have to go in here and clean. There's little remnants. But that'll give us that detail back, hopefully. That might be cool to bring that detail back. But, alright, off to the spray booth, though. Oh, and also, this will be the first time me using this paint from, it's Rhino Wisdom. I'm going to use a fancy pearl blue. It's a purple with a blue flake in it. And they gave me metallic sets, fluorescent. Here's a fluorescent. You get into these. Fluorescent reds. I got a lot of pearls. I got a green pearl. Here's a bright green pearl. Some of the color names don't make sense. This is a silver pearl. That looks quite blue to me. I mean, sometimes you gotta mix it, but there's still a lot of blue in there. Yeah, here's where I got all my, I printed these cool little paint holders. But yeah, these are all pearls. There's a black pearl that looks quite green. But I got pearls here, and then we got fluorescents here. So on this little block, that's what all these are. Fluorescent magenta. And of course, some of my shit, this row here has some like Vallejo stuff. It came with all kinds of pore thinners. But here's some of my color shifting stuff. Just didn't have places for it. And then here's just mainly regular colors. Up here is my transparent blue, green, and red. And this is a great color. I got way back when I started. Back up like 6-7 years ago. This model colors sand. It's a great paint. But yeah, basically all these are the opaques. Besides, up here we got transparents and translucent color shifters. Oh, those are thinners. Thinners are right in these 5 right here. Here we got some color shifting. There's 1, 2, 3, and there's 4th one. And then up here, these are all metallics, I believe. They all have like a flake in them. And we got purple copper with purple with a copper flake in it. That's interesting. But yeah, these were real, not, I wouldn't say cheap, but they were a lot better priced than most things, and they're airbrush ready. So this would be my first time using them all. And it's always nice to have, a lot of things in a lot of colors. The metallics don't come in as big a bottle, where these opaque ones are in a lot bigger bottle. What are they? 30 milliliter, where these are just 20. But you probably wouldn't be using these as much. And these, even the fluorescents and the pearls, they're all in the 30s. All right, here we are. Yeah, I'm really happy how those came out. Well, it sprayed pretty nice. A little runny on the, but I think it had a little bit of my thinner that I ran through the brush because I haven't used that airbrush in a while. So that might have been it. Because after a while, it was spraying nice, but it's definitely thin. So, but I'm used to that with working with water-based craft acrylics. But that came out pretty neat. And you got a blue, especially you get in different angles, you see a blue flake. Almost a color shift, almost. Not that these ships really had any metallics to them, but hey, this is my own thing. The other one's going to probably be just a straight up blue, unless I do find a nice metallic blue. It dries really quick. It's time to pretend it's Christmas and get rid of all this. Should get a garbage can out. Usually I try to do. Oh, I might need to let it dry a little longer. I think that's probably going to be the thing. I see a little bit where it peeled up. Yeah, probably should let it dry a little longer. And get rid of this because it's just out in the open. Yeah, that's one thing. I'm so used to the craft acrylics; they dry so quick. And what I can do, since that one went right back into place, yeah, we'll just let it cure. I'm gonna let it cure for a couple hours. It's still soft. Where is that paint? It's the regular purple. We got a little bit on the end here. We can get a little bit on the end. We can just take a little brush, and we'll find out if it there we go. We will find out how well it levels itself with a brush. Well, all right. I took the masks off. I wanted to do it on camera, but today was one of those crazy days, and I had a friend whose dad is not doing all well. I guess everything's cool now. So I was on the phone talking with him. He knows I'm going through, his dad's going through cancer. Um, and just wasn't feeling well. And I just had my surgery a little over a week ago. So I work with him, so he wanted to reach out and see how I was doing, and he knows I can ease his mind because I've been through it. But there it is. I mean, it's different. Metallic purple is it's really neat. It might not get it on camera, but it glares a blue. There's definitely a blue flake in it, and I think that's kind of neat because that kind of hones back to the Canon one. Well, we're going to do a Canon one in blue and all that, like you see on Ahsoka, which I was so happy to see one of these ships, on a live action. I think this is one of my favorites out of the Star Wars universe. The X-wing's great, but this is kind of an X-wing, but it looks like a smaller fighter and maybe a little quicker and faster, maneuverable maybe. I don't know. I don't know the whole specs on like its weapons and stuff like that, but I like it. And then there's another one that has a cannon up here, so I'm gonna probably order that file and maybe do a different one in that one and do in red because it seems like those are always in red. And it has a cannon up here or some type of thing. It's pretty cool. It's a little different, boxy, different fuselage back here. Same wing pattern, but different back here and then that big gun. So it'd be neat to have uh, a different version. There might even be three. I don't know, but I know this is my favorite one. This is, I think, more the fighter. Now, the mess you've seen in here is because I already cut one. I was able to cut through them with just a razor blade to get that detail out of there. It's really, well, here's the side. I already got this one done. Like I said, it's hard to see it, but you know, now you got these lumps and all that stuff that's supposed to be there. Like I said, it just didn't print right. And I was amazingly able to slice this little piece off of that. You know, I think this piece goes from here to here. So I was able to slice it here, get rid of that, and then they were still attached. And then I just came and when you do this cut, you can see where it's starting, going to start building this. And I want one layer back and to get it as thin as possible. But it's the fun thing of just taking your time. This side's not so bad. But here first, I got to kind of, there's a detail that kind of moves right into the top half there. Try to make sure we're clear there, pretty much so, in there. The hard part is this here where it's thicker. So one thing that's good is you can see really, I mean, I almost could probably score right through it this way. This is this thick one there. There we go. Yeah, I'm amazed. Now, will you drop? Oh, there we go. Now, let's see how she dry fits. Let's see a little garbage here. Any little thing right now cause a fit issue. Oh, are we going to get lucky? We might have something towards the front here. Oh no, that's fitting really nice. I think there's just garbage up in this corner. I gotta try to get it out. I don't want to scrape into the. I mean, I can touch the purple up. It's actually been touching up with just a brush. And I noticed the other one's a little further out, but I think that'll work. Oh, you're springy. I think I gotta clean a little bit of something down here. Because on the other one, I had a problem of it going down, like fitting tight to the bottom. There's stuff snagging on it. It's a little better because it's just popped right in there. Now, if I can get to the side. Yeah, see, it's still wanting to tilt a little bit. But yeah, hey, you can take detail off of a whole big part. I can't believe that actually worked. Yeah, so now I'll just hit it with some super glue and then we'll paint it white. My super glue is being super poo. Can't even get the lid off, but I can get that part off. I'm just gonna make sure I use all this up before I open my other bottle. Other bottle. We want to make sure we get glue everywhere, but not too much glue that we fill things when we look from the front. And we don't need cat hair in there. There's enough cat hair and everything else. Go. Sticky. Now I want to make sure that back corner's down. That's the key. Beautiful. There it is. And now we have the detail, the grills, and those little thumbs, and it looks much better than just a hole. Yay! That makes me happy because I was upset at first. Like I said, I think I thought it was supports because that's printed like that. I thought it was supports holding this edge up, but I was wrong. Even though this is not the white I sprayed it with, but it all blends in. And this is going to get washed. I'm not going to overnick it. Like me handling stuff's wearing some areas. Like that edge is getting worn. I touched up some a little bit here, but there's some wears like under here. I might fix it because that's a little extreme. But you can leave them if I nick something, or it's all just part of the story. You know, like these corners are getting knocked off. Well, that's natural. So that's okay. I'll leave that. And that's why it's good to, I like printing stuff in black. A, it can light block for you if you are light blocking it. I should almost get black resin. But on those, I'll actually do a black primer. A lot of stuff like that. But ILM did a lot of their styrene and you know, whether they were just cutting styrene and placing it down for like a panel, or whether they were doing, you know, vacuum forming or stuff, they would use a lot of black, especially like a lot of the early first couple films. They were using a lot of black styrene. So that's like the Falcon. They would just scratch through the paint and you would have that black mark. And it made it so much easier. You didn't have to paint it. You just had to come up and go like that. You know, you just had to come up and just go and scratch it, or just take the edge and just scrape, or steel wool, or I like Scotch-Brite. You can knock the, and you get to the black. Like that's why all theirs always have like wear through the paint. It's black underneath because that's actually the black styrene they made it with. So I kind of keep with that too because it works good, especially if you're doing Star Wars stuff, because it's kind of a trademark of their wares. It doesn't go down to shiny metal; it goes down to like black. The Y wing, you can see that a lot, or Falcon definitely, but the Y wing is a good one. You can see a lot of the scratches are all black. This is just not the nicest brush for doing detailing. Yeah, this is not this brush. This brush is these blue handled ones I got a long time ago. That's only down to like 4 of them, but some of them I think it's time to retire. I use them for a lot of things like this. It's not as crucial, but it's gonna, when I get to paint that, I'm gonna have to get a better brush. And the nice thing is, once we do washes, it's all gonna blend in. And that's the wonderful thing about Star Wars stuff. Everything can be crusty and chunky, because everything in Star Wars is crusty and chunky. Or like you're doing the Star Trek models, it's a little more patience, and because those ships are always clean. They have like very little weathering, unless it's the Botany Bay. And I'm amazed the only blowout I had was right there. And any others that I had, I could just scrape with a knife. Just take your X-Acto knife. Like here's a spot. Yep, bye. Since my base coat is a tougher paint than this, it'll scratch off first. Alright. It's time to switch brushes here. Alright, what brush do I want to go to? I really got to start getting some fine ones. I've worn them all out. I go with the flat with the angle, because then I can kind of do that. Yeah. I can do this. Worst of it too is it's white, so you got to do 2 coats at least. But like I said, we're gonna let this dry a little bit because I keep touching wet areas because I touch up as I'm going, and we'll touch up this purple. So, been continuing painting from the last video or last clip. Started getting some grays on here. Take this off. I went and put a little gray mark there just to get something up on the nose. Went with a lighter gray. What is it? The sky gray. And then I used the slate gray on the darker spots here. And then I did that sky gray here and up here. On the sides of the engine, I think I did the slate gray. And did some detailing on the bottom. You know, mix and matching the different grays. We still got to do the landing gear. Debating on maybe doing this piece here. I wish I would have painted more of the engines before I glued them on. I think I might hit that with a little bit of I think I might hit that with the galvanized tin. Got to do the galvanized tin back here on these flaps. I'm probably going to use some rub and buff like brass on those little raised bumps inside the engine. So it looks like they're cooling vents or cooling pipes or whatever. And then, of course, the interior. But we're not going to do much with the interior. Mainly this front console. Hit some buttons, some colors back there. Not sure what I want to do those because I'm not even sure what they're supposed to represent. Yeah, we're basically I got to get another gray stripe right in here. I think excuse me, all this rain. Yeah, not sure if I want to do it a light or a darker. Some of it's got to go over that purple, so probably have to go with a darker. And I would pull more darker gray up on the top of the ship. But that's where we're at. Just wanted to show a little quick update. It's coming along good, even for a filament printed ship. It actually came out nice. And like I said, this was done on my Elegoo. I can imagine what the bamboo would do. The Elegoo will do, or the bamboo will do a way nicer job. The helmets I'm printing are like fairly smooth. It gets a little funky when it gets to round spots here where it has to do that. But there is things you can do to eliminate that on how it builds those final curves. It almost changes settings as it goes on that. So I get a fool with that kind of stuff. So I went and painted a few more things. We got that gray stripe along the side there. And then I think I added that. I don't know if that was there before. Got these flaps here all done on both sides. I did a little color on there just to add some color. Something up here too. But what I want to do is I want to add a little more detail to that instead of it just being this round thing, you know, like those. I probably could do the same thing down there too, but or even there, like make those look like that's probably where they plug hoses in, like you always see when they're in hangars. Mainly the X-wing, but I was thinking about just drawing up some detail, but then I was like, well, let me look through my Greebly bins that I keep prints off of. Like this is prints from the sand crawler, which gives you great like junction box with tubes, and the rest of these are actually Greeblies. Like I use these on the inside of the sand crawler. They're actual greeblies. But I found this, and I was like, these two things right here. And the nicest thing is this one's a little different than this one, so it'll give us difference on each side. I'll probably do these in like a brassy bronze color and stick them right down on top. Just trying to get those round pieces out of there. I think those will be neat. Some thick print. I have these files, so I could probably actually go and print these a little thinner if that's too big. I don't know if that's going to stick up too high for my taste. If I just want a little bit of a raised detail. Yeah, I might actually go and thin these out. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to try. Well, I was able to reprint and kind of get two of them to work, because once you shrink them, actually the greebly is probably like this big, that whole square that these details are on. But I was able to slice it and then get it off, off there and just isolate these and get them to print. That's good enough because that'll give some type of detail. And with this being galvanized tin, and I'm going to do this maybe in a see here. See, would that be what I want? Yeah, let's try it. You can always paint over it. And I want to see if I can actually paint it without getting it all the way down in the bottom, or do I just leave? It'd be kind of neat to have that dark down there. Because I'm old. See what I can do here. I can just hit the little spokey thing. It'd be neat to have that little black highlight down there. I mean, I could always drip a wash down there, a panel liner. But I think we gotta hit the edges. I don't have to paint it perfect. The little black plastic comes through. That's just gonna make it look. That's almost like pre-aging. That'll work. We'll let them dry. I think I'm gonna, while that's drying, continue on with some stuff here. Pretty much most of the ship I'm happy with as far as painting. Oh, we gotta do all the silver landing gear we gotta do. And then, of course, him, which I'm almost about to just print the chair. It's kind of nice, but I still say he looks a little small. But we definitely got to get this droid going. I think I'm going to do him in this blue. Should probably actually start hitting him with a silver. But we'll let that dry. And then we'll glue them on. So I got those little detail pieces on. Glue them on. That looks good. I like that. It gives a little or something to the ship. Like I said, this one I can have fun with. The other one I'm going to build the cannon and the blue and all that. But what I'm doing, and I did some stuff in the cockpit. Got some monitors going. On the resin one, I have a whole bunch of like images that I can use for decals to put on that. On the resin one and backlight. But this one's just going to be a static model. No way to light any of this. It's going to be fun to figure out for the resin one. I think what I'm going to do is cut this off in the slicer and then print this clear. And then do just like any other. I also want to see if they have like a milky white resin that will kind of glow too, but clear will work. Because I think that's the only area I really want to have lights going. Anything back here can be just static. Any of that back there. It's only a few buttons, and they can look like buttons. As long as we get that console set, doing some lights, I'll be happy with that. But I think what because this is one piece here, and that includes all the interior. I wish they would have had the interior separate. It would really be nice. The Y-wing that I did in filament printed, which that version I'm going to do static like this as well, and then we'll do resin. It actually has the cockpit separate, so I could probably do that in a clear and try to get some lighting in that one. But this one, I think I'm going to have to just slice this, which is going to be interesting because then I also have to print this whole piece without that. So it's going to be interesting to try to. I can come this way because this part won't be here, so I can come across here. But how do I get this piece back? Unless I make that a separate piece too, and then only have like just I can make the slice happen. Right here's the seam. I can make that slice. Only have to print this part of the clear, which can be clear too. And once you hit it with black, and just like doing the big Enterprise or any of the round twos that they do in transparent. So that would probably be the way to do it. Yeah, because there's everything else on here on the sides. It's all knobs and stuff. So I think that's how we can get the resin one to have lights up in here. But I did a little detail, did a little copper coil, a couple of hit some of the buttons, and then the rest of it, what I'm doing is just taking Tamiya Weathering Masters. I love this silver for making things look kind of worn edged. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. You can see how I highlighted this edge. You just kind of rub on the edge. And it looks like those edges get touched a lot and get worn away. Especially with black. I did this a lot in the Falcon. It works great. And you just kind of brush it across things and it gives highlights. Sometimes I use the foam. You can't keep using the same. Look at how I wore this brush. It's pretty much like a makeup brush. But I strictly use that for the black and mainly the rust. But you can see how I've worn through that. So I use this a lot. And this one here is nice because this has got sand, light sand, and mud. So that's a good way of dirtying things up. But these are a little bit more pasty than like regular dry pastels. But you can use this. I don't know where I found these and these. You can just go right in there. If you want stronger edges, I find that this little one you can focus on. And it does help if the paint you're trying to do it over is flat. I like this because it doesn't over hit everything. Because sometimes with these pastels, these Tamiya ones, you kind of have to really rub them on. It's just a lot more subtle than like rub and buff and stuff. And then what I want to do, I don't know if I dab it clear. I think I put a little solar res on those monitors, make them look a little more glassy, like lenses. We'll do those two round green ones and then these three up in the center. And in here, I think I'm going to try a real light dab of panel iron. Pull out those grills there. Sometimes you got to be careful with the panel liner. It wants to take off. We'll make sure you get rid of the excess. And not touch. That's the problem. My finger. And it runs on your finger. It's a little more difficult because it's dealing with 3D printing regs. I have a little more control, but still getting. You don't want to put too much fluid in brush or take off. There, and then what I'll do is let it dry, and I'll just take a little thinner on to Q-tip and try to pull some of it off. Take that off, and we can go across that and re-whiten those. Yeah. Once we re-whiten those, it makes those grills look darker again. So that gives us some depth. I think that might be something nice to do in there. I mean, a wash would help too, but I want it a little darker. Like that's almost like an intake. There we go, just to highlight that. Yeah, if I go like this, see, that makes those look a little more deeper. So let's let it sit like that, because otherwise, panel liner will follow print liners. Like, like I said, it's getting cluttered here, but that's all I wanted to show you. I'm going to start painting these guys. I'm not going to bore you with that. We'll come back when it's done. We got to print a decal for the New Republic symbol that I want to put on there. So what I think, we'll let that foot cure. This ship's going to be ready for a clear coat, and we can do a wash. Probably should get the decal down, then do a clear coat, because I like doing washes over any detail like that. But I'm going to start painting these guys. Well, got the guy pilot in his chair all painted up. I went like a duck egg blue, like I saw in the photos from the where I got the 3D print files. So he's painted up. We'll do a little wash and then we'll hit him with some flat. He's looking okay. It was hard to paint since he's filament printed. There's a lot of bumpies and stuff like that, but he'll come out much better in the resin. Did like a regular bare steel there on the chair, and painted him in a blue outfit. Like I guess that pretty much Squadron is. Here's the astromech with just weird headed triangle trench kind of droid is canon to the actual that you see in these E-Wings. So he's painted up, bit of silver, and then I used one of these sparkly, like brilliant blue, I think is what I used. So it has a little metallic in it. And he will fit back here and look good, but we're going to do a wash because I got a clear coat, a glossy coat on here. Just printed and put one coat of clear on the decals that go on here. I'm going to use 2 of these smaller ones. There's 3 big ones, and there's what, 5 of those. So hopefully I can use. I'm going to use 2. That'll still leave me 2 for the blue version, the actual Canon version. And yeah, it's looking good for just a quick little static model. You know, it's more, you know, lets me know how this thing's going to go together, and it's probably going to go together even better when it's resin because things should fit. This was done on my Elegoo, so my bamboo would probably make it way smoother. And that's basically just because it calibrates every print, which is awesome. It does a bed level and everything. And I hand paint it. I mean, the purple we sprayed with all these grays, all those, everywhere, even on the bottom, I just hand painted. This is, you know, I'm not going to take this thing anywhere. This is kind of my little fun version of it. Oh, I do want to hit a little rub and buff in there too. But we'll do a light wash on here because I don't want, these aren't as dirty as I see X-Wings. You know, X-Wings have been in a lot of battles and been in the rebellion, and these are, I think, if I'm correctly, these are more of a New Republic ship, so they're not fighting as much. And I don't know if I showed the cockpit. You can kind of see some of the. I was going to put some solar res on the screens to add like a lens, but I'm going to hit this whole thing with a flat once we do the wash, so I'm going to wait to do that, and then we'll put that in there. And that gives you a good lens kind of thing going on. And on the resin one, I'm actually going to print decals that have monitors. I just looked online for just generic Star Wars sci-fi display screens, and you get a ton of things that you can print out. I really love the detail in the back. It really came out nice. So I'm going to do a wash and we'll come back because, like I said, this isn't going to be an in-depth build series. This is just kind of just showing you what I'm doing. The other one will go in more in depth. All right, I got a light wash on there. Didn't want to go too crazy. I wanted to look more just atmospheric, dirty. Instead of battle damage, I'm not going to do any little rough spots. Like I said, the other one we might go a hair further on what we do. A hair, something stuck there. Underneath. It's so light you might even be hard to even see it. So, and he's painted up, and I put a satin coat on him. Astromech is weathered and painted up. So once we do what we got to do here, I want to put my flat coat down and then put him down. And I think I'm even, because I want him to have a satin, not completely dull look to him. So I am going to leave him out because I'll get a good shot of flat in here. There's the decals. So I printed them, got clear coats on them. They look good. I usually put these down first before I weather, but just in the timing, I think we'll be fine since this isn't an overly washed ship. Well, I need a paper towel. I can just put it down. Let's try to get one of these to fit. It's been a while since I did one of these decals, so I don't remember how long it takes for them to break free. I don't believe that it was too long. Get a clean paper towel. Oh yeah, they break free pretty quick. I'm just gonna do a light dash of water. It's gonna go right in there. There it is. There you go. So you gonna slide for me? I think that'd work. Q-tip. There we go. That works. Almost like they do some on the bottom there, but so we'll put the top. It looks like the best. Have the top just hit that seam there. I don't know if I have the same thing on that side. Not really. Right, let's do the other side before that one dries. What it's doing is these two stars is giving me the twist. All right, we'll let those dry on, but yeah, that is very cool. Now, where the blue goes over the purple, you know, it's such a transparent color. I was almost wondering, do I put them somewhere else, like maybe up here or here? Certainly do something there. Yeah, have that one up a little more. Yeah, I'm kind of riding just the bottom there. See a little air bubble. There it goes. So I can go up just a hair. There we go. All right, we'll let those decals dry, and then we can Put a satin coat on it, or a flat coat on it. All right, here she is. All with a flat coat. Decals are down. That's pretty much it for this just quick little static model build, test build, I guess you could say. Like I said, later on we're going to do the resin one and we'll do it up really good and light the engines, light the cockpit. Really spend time on it. Probably have way better detail. Get her to spin around for the back. I did go through and do some more stuff on the engines. Did some rub and buff inside there. Sorry about this white and then the glare of the camera. I don't know if I can turn a light on if it would help. It helps settle the. Trying to adjust for light. But you can kind of see. There you go. You can see the rub and buff I put inside there. I'm really going to look forward to doing the resin version. Like I said, I'm probably going to do the same type of thing with the Y-wing I have like this. And you won't. But the resin one's going to be so much nicer. You won't see these little artifacts and all the build lines. Got some solar res on the monitors. We'll do decals that we can backlight with the resin kit, resin version. We'll print this in resin. But I just wanted to do something quick and gives me a break from doing other things because I have OCD, and sometimes when you're doing repetitive things, like working on that Nemesis space dock, doing all the lighting for those arms, it's nice to take a break and do something, at least for me. But there it is. I hope you enjoyed it. Cool kit. This is from Bigbang Collectables, and you can find them on Etsy. So, till next time, thanks for watching.